So back in 2020, I, Steven Shinder, started a podcast called Delayed Replay, recapping and reviewing the latest films. However, it got broadcast into an alternate universe where those films got delayed and came out differently from how I was describing them. Because of how me and my guests had been describing the films, people in that other universe were saying that this was all an improvised comedy podcast, which, listening back, I can totally get why they believe that. A lot of weird stuff happened in that first year, and I even met my other self from that other universe, who pops in from time to time, for better or worse. And now, in the year 2023, this podcast continues, still recapping and reviewing movies and sometimes some other things that got delayed or cancelled in that other universe. A new episode Saturdays every other week, unless I decide otherwise for some special reason or whatever. You are listening to Delayed Replay, Season 4.
This is Steven from that other universe with a review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, spoiler free, so no need to worry about the finer details. Much like the Suicide Squad, this seems to be the same in both universes. Kind of interesting that they're both James Gunn comic book movies. Neither got delayed over here, so Volume 3, in my opinion, is the best post-Endgame MCU movie. Y'all can go to my Letterboxd account, it's Rotten Tomato over here as well, to see my thoughts on the other MCU things that have come out since then. But in general, some stuff has been very meh or just okay or just fine to me. The things I've really, really enjoyed were the Spider-Man sequels and Shang-Chi. But I think Volume 3 tops those now. Like, I love Volume 3. In my review, I wrote, "This is the tone Love and Thunder should have had. This is the lighting Quantumania should have had. These are the special effects Multiverse of Madness should have had. And this is the lovable ensemble Eternals should have had. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 rocks." And almost a day and a half later, I still stand by that. It might be my favorite in the Guardians trilogy. Like, I felt like I've liked each new one more than the previous one. Yeah, it had a lot of heart. It did a lot for each of the characters. It was very action-packed, felt very James Gunn. The music, good music choices, of course, as usual. And I was kind of surprised what they were able to get away with even the PG-13 rating. There's some moments that are a little bit horrific, and I was really into the way that those moments were utilized. And funny enough, I watched this on the Twilight Zone day, and yeah, I know the irony in that with Guardians of the Galaxy ride replacing Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, but there's like a little a segment of the film that feels like a Twilight Zone episode, and I won't say what it is, but when y'all see it, I'm sure you'll know what I mean. But yeah, great stuff. There are bits that kind of change how I view one of the characters in the previous movies, and in a good way. Like, I knew that this movie was gonna be good, but I was still a little surprised with how good it was. Like, I was like, this movie has a lot of the things that more recent MCU stuff has been missing. And I don't know if this movie should be seen as a sign that things will get better in the MCU from here on out. And, I don't hate as much as other people. Like I said, some things are like just okay, some are meh. But I'm curious if we'll see Volume 3, like looking back, if people in my universe will see it as, okay, this is when Marvel Studios got its footing back. Or if we'll see it as, oh, this is the last great movie that Marvel Studios made before James Gunn went to focus more on the DCU. And I should say, I already felt confident, but after seeing this film, I feel even more confident that James Gunn making Superman Legacy, that's a good choice and it's in good hands. Like, Guardians 3 didn't feel like a Superman movie to me per se, but just the love and care that was taken with the characters, that's what makes me sure that Superman Legacy is in good hands. So I'm curious if I'll be excited about future MCU stuff, but I'm definitely excited about future DC stuff even more so. Now it's kind of funny how that works. I don't know if you hear cats in the background. I'm staying at my friend's place. Traveling to see the Coup de Comedy Festival at UC Irvine. I saw Shinshin the other day. Remember when Shinshin was on the Quantumania episode over in the delayed replay universe? That was an interesting one. But anyway, Volume 3, great movie. Very threatening villain. Overall, an improvement over Gunn's previous film, The Suicide Squad, which I think I would give like a 7.5. I give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 at least a 9.5 out of 10 whistles. I guess that'll be my unit of measurement. Highly recommend. Possibly my favorite film of the year so far, it topping even Scream 6, if you can believe it. I guess back to the show, and happy 3 years to delayed replay.
All right. So now I'll go ahead and bring us in. Are you still there, Greg?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah.
I was waiting for you
It,
to bring us in.
yeah, no, it went super silent, okay, like in the background, so I wasn't sure if like something happened. I might just leave that in.
Might as well.
All right. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe but came out in our universe on time. I'm your host, as always, Steven Shinder, and joining me once again to talk about The Collected, the third in this trilogy that start with The Collector and then The Collection. It is Greg. What's going on?
I've just been really tired today because I came home from a concert at like 1:30 in the morning because it ran over to like 11, and then the trains didn't go all the way home, so to get a lift, it was, and then to get up for work at 6:30, now it was nasty.
Oh, dang. Well, what kind of concert was it?
It's a metal concert,
Okay. You can hear me well?
so it's, yes, I can.
That delayed response tells me otherwise.
I have a bit of concert wisdom now that if you need to go to the toilet, but you're really close to the front, just put a coat on and then you just sweat it out. You don't need to go to the toilet.
Wow.
You may feel really sweaty afterwards, but it works.
Yeah. Metal is like if it's like super loud, I don't know if I could like stand the whole show. So kudos to you for withstanding that, I guess.
Yeah, I go to them fairly often, so
Okay.
pretty good fun.
Right. So this is also coming out this episode around the third anniversary of Delayed Replay itself. So it's really wild how much time has flown by really quickly. So uh, I don't know, like what are some of your moments that or topics, I guess, that you remember that you'd like to give like a shout out to, I guess. I don't know if how I'm wording this well.
Not sure you could call that a shout out, but okay.
Right, yeah. A
Um,
member berry, if you will.
you love those. I think it was the first episode I was on. Was it the Kingsman episode?
Oh yeah, the King's Man.
Yep. That movie turned out way different.
Yeah, in that other universe. Yeah, the version from that other universe was pretty boring in my opinion.
The Rasputin
Yeah,
bits were so weird.
that version was, it felt like it didn't know what tone it wanted to be, like, because I'm used to thinking of the Kingsmen being silly, but that version from that other universe was also trying to be like super serious at times, and it's like,
Yeah, and the way they tied it in was pretty weird as well.
yeah, I don't know, it just felt like kind of meh to me. Like I just watched it and that version and didn't feel fulfilled, and neither did my other self. So, you know, um, can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Oh yeah, I was looking at the USB for my microphone and it was blinking, so then I realized, oh shoot, the battery's running low. I gotta change it.
Oh, I thought it was me.
No, it was totally on
I was
my
like,
end. Yeah,
I was like,
this is a wonderful thing to happen on the third anniversary. Like 3 years
making
of
time
doing
to
this.
perfection.
Yeah, 3 years of doing this show and this happens. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this in as well, but yeah, let me just go change my battery real quick.
Yeah, that sounded interesting.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I just changed the batteries, so yeah, that was wild. Um, Let me double check something real quick, and then I swear I'll stay seated here and we'll do the episode. All right, so getting back to delayed replay recollections. Haha, see what I did there. Um, um, like there have been a bunch of great episodes. Like
I just realized something as well as
what?
I've been looking through all the episodes. This might be my 20th episode.
Oh, really? I lost count after a certain point.
Yeah, I was do counting now. It might be my 20th. So
Uh,
it's a milestone for both of us.
yeah, I remember a while ago, Mr. Multiverse joked about how he was gonna try to beat your record, but
Oh, really?
yeah, but I think you've been on more than he has. Yeah,
I think so, but it's definitely been a lot.
yeah. Um, I think there's like 125 or 126 or 127 episodes now or something like that. Um, I might just like
It says
count them.
126, but I
Okay.
don't know if that counts like trailers and stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, I don't know if it counts the trailers or what, but I'll check that out later and then insert the number in the edit. It'll sound super natural. Well, not supernatural. I mean, like organic is what I'm saying.
122. If it turns out to be that, just leave it in.
Yeah, or 127 hours of podcasting.
Uh, yeah,
But
trapped between two walls.
yeah. Much like people get trapped in the collector movies, but
Yes, we'll get onto that later.
yeah. Um you know what? I might just like insert like after the fact I'll insert recollections of the podcast for myself right here and it'll sound organic and then
Hey, remember when the podcast started? Like the A Quiet Place Part 2 episode with Andres, and later we did like the third one and those other episodes of all those other movies with all those other different people. So many fun moments. Wow, whoa, I'm reminiscing and remembering. Yeah, just listen to all of them.
we'll just do the movies discussion right now.
One of my
So
favorite moments.
yeah,
You
favorite
just
moments.
like super edit.
Yeah, that'd take way too much time if to like go through all the episodes and include all the different clips and whatnot.
Yeah, I think
It,
most people that do those jig people to send them in.
yeah, it's especially tough because it's not video, so you can't just like scroll through the thing and see the frame where like, oh, it looks like they're saying this thing that I remember at this moment. And um I mean, even then it would be really tough because with a podcaster sitting in the same place, basically, it's not like changing from like scene to scene like a normal TV show, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean season 5 might become a two camera setup.
Yeah, delayed replay season 5 for 2024 confirmed. No, but actually, yeah, I do foresee that season 5 will happen. I know I recently joked about like the podcast ending, but season 5 will still be a thing in some shape or form next year.
Yeah,
Um,
if Warner Brothers is still in business, then we'll definitely have plenty of content.
right, yeah.
Throwing shade.
Um, but yeah, so getting to the collector movies, you only saw these recently, right? Like, what were your thoughts on the collector and the collection before we get into the collected? And, spoilers, obviously, for anyone listening.
Well, I hope you sat down for this an hour-long discussion about these two movies.
Oh, hang on, I need to go check something. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
The fact that this was supposed to be an origin story for Jigsaw, like, obviously can kind of see why. But did you know that as well?
Yeah, I remember. So I rented these by DVD via Netflix back when Netflix still sent DVDs in the mail. I think they recently announced they were discontinuing that, which is surprising because people were like, "Oh, they still did these?" Like I thought they gave up on that a long time ago. But yeah, I remember renting these in the probably the early 2010s. And I knew of the collector because I'd heard that it was originally pitched as a Saw prequel, and it was from the writers that went on to do Saw 4 and some of the other films after that. And of course, they also did the sixth Final Destination movie we talked about last time here. Um, but yeah, it kind of reminded me of how Saw 2 was originally a separate movie called The Desperate, and then people were like, it feels too much like Saw. And then the creators of Saw heard about this and basically recontextualized it so that it's now in the Saw universe. So This was kind of the opposite. Like the Collector was originally a Saw origin movie, and then they de-Sawified it to an extent. Like they took out they took out any connections to like Jigsaw or the baggage of the franchise, I guess you could say, but it's still very trap filled, and you still see like that Saw shade of green, at least in the first one. So it definitely, and the Collector feels like a Jigsaw who, like, without the feelings and emotions and stuff, like Jigsaw feels like he's trying to teach people to appreciate their lives, but the Collector, when I watched that first movie, it looked to me like he sees himself as a spider, and I was kind of proven right when, like, a little bit more into the movie, he seemed fascinated by a spider, and it's like he just wants to capture all these people and keep them in his web and watch them suffer and whatnot. Um, but yeah, I know that was like a long-winded analysis, but you were saying.
It's okay, I enjoyed it. Um, but yeah, he was a more active Jigsaw. Like he wasn't just a bystander.
Right, because Jigsaw, like John Kramer, is in his 50s and very ill, so he can't do much. Whereas this guy is more like he's more active and whatnot. So yeah, I totally get that.
And I definitely saw a lot of Saw
Uh,
2 in
oh,
this
I see
movie.
what you did there, or I saw what you did there.
Yeah, because it's like I think Saw 2 was the one with the house, and they're
Yeah,
like in some abandoned house, and they had all these traps set up, and then the Collector just honestly made the traps so much more elaborate. I was like, what the hell is going on? How did he set this up? It's insane. And when Josh Stewart appears, I honestly thought it was Jason Clarke for a second.
oh yeah,
Like
he does kind of
I
look
was
like
like, oh, is
him.
this the guy from Pet Cemetery? Because like they're kind of the same age and kind of look the same.
Yeah, yeah, he plays Arkin in these movies.
Yeah, I honestly thought I was watching Jason Clarke for a bit, but then yeah, I looked him up and was like, oh, it's a completely different dude. Um, but I'm not sure if we were supposed to feel like on his side because obviously he's a burglar and he's been staking out his house. But during the movie and the sequel, you kind of start rooting for him in a way.
Yeah, it's funny because this feels like a precursor to Don't Breathe. Um,
Yeah, well,
where
Don't Breathe had less traps in it.
right, but it's still a similar premise of like, they are burglars and they're breaking into the house, and it turns out, oh shoot, there's this person in the house that's like trying to kill them now, and they like underestimated how easy this they thought the situation would be so easy for them.
Yeah,
Um,
I
so
can see that now. I saw a lot of reviews saying that. I'm like, what? What are you on about?
yeah, this it's funny because like the Collector feels like a hybrid between Saw and Don't Breathe. Obviously, Don't Breathe came out later, so it's almost like the Collector is this forgotten
Like
precursor
midpoint.
to it. Yeah, and yeah, I was kind of surprised like how negative the reviews were for it. I mean, I know that critics are sometimes harsh on like horror movies in general, but I thought there were some like creative traps and moments in this film. Like the premise alone, like I guess one could say it feels derivative of Saw, but it feels like it takes things to another level in some ways, and the traps don't always feel like it's kind of hard to convey unless one has seen all the Saw movies up to that point and been like, oh, this makes sense for Saw, this makes sense for the Collector type thing.
Yeah, because like the collector's obviously not trying to not like expect people to escape, whereas Jigsaw's like, oh, you do have a chance if you play your cards right.
Yeah, like you just gotta get the Uno +4 card or the Uno reverse card, and you might get out. Actually, Arkin pulls out the Uno reverse card at the end of the collection, like the second movie.
Yeah,
Like, should we
he
like
just
start
tortures
talking
it.
about the second movie now?
Yeah, when he pushes him into his own crate.
Yeah,
So comparing the first film and the second film,
yeah,
it kind of gave me Alien and Aliens vibes. I'm not sure if you got that.
right. I didn't
Like
get.
where the first film is like it's all one location. Well, not all one location, but like it's very tense. It's very thrilling. You don't know who's going to survive. And then the second movie is where you send all your trained agents in to try solve the situation, and it kind of like lessens the thriller vibe of it. Like I definitely wasn't as scared in the second one than I was in the first one.
Yeah, the Alien and Aliens thing, I probably wasn't thinking about when I watched these two movies way back when, but when I saw your Letterboxd reviews, um, I think you gave the first one like a 3.5 and the second one a 3,
Yeah,
and you mentioned
yeah, dude, yeah,
the Aliens parallel, and I was like, oh, yeah, I totally see that. Like you got like this group of armed people going in, and it's not so isolated. It's kind of a bigger location. And they also kind of do that in the Hatchet movies. I think in like the second or third one or something. That could take some of the tension away. Saw 2 almost very well could have gone that route. You know, they begin with a SWAT team going to Jigsaw's lair, but then it turns out the games are happening in that abandoned house you mentioned. So they kind of narrowly avoid
yeah.
falling into that trap, pun intended.
And also with the intro scene for the collection, it gave me huge ghost ship vibes. So they just like ripped off the intro to that movie when in Ghost Ship it was their cruise where that piece of wire or that metal cable came down and like cut everyone in half apart from the one girl. And in the collection you have I don't know what the hell it was, just like mowed everyone over.
Like you get the flashback with Elena, and she becomes like a main character in the second one, and you also have like that dance club scene. So it's like, oh, the second movie is not as isolated, and it's like in some of the scenes, it's like there's too much light here. Like it doesn't feel scary enough. So I
I mean, they
definitely
got to expand it somehow.
yeah, like I'm not sure how else they could have done it, but I definitely prefer the first one over the second one, but it's like after surviving the first one, like it feels like what happens in the second one is the natural next step of what would happen in the universe.
Yeah, where like, oh, you survived, come help us take him down.
Right. Yeah. Cuz like he's not going to try to face the collector one on one in an isolated place by himself. So it's like you'd either have to like do the armed team idea, or you'd have to like switch to a new protagonist and they get into a predicament where they get into a small space and have to get out, but it might feel like the first one all over again, so you gotta find ways to change that up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking if they did another enclosed space, it might be like, oh, they just can't think of anything else to do.
Yeah, I think another aspect that draws me more to the first one than the second one is I find it fascinating, like comparing it to some of the home invasion stuff you hear in stuff like Red Dragon or the Hannibal TV show, where, the killer will find a way to break into the house, and it's because they already know a certain way to get in, like whether it be via videotapes because they work for a video company, or they're familiar with the home security system. So I think
Yeah.
that's why the first one, like that type of premise, is more fascinating to me. And it's like a heist that goes wrong and turns into a survival movie.
I mean, I don't think he was stupid either. Like, he definitely learned. It was like a really irritating final man. Like, he wasn't just lucky with what he was doing. Yeah, there's some where they just stumbled their way through and make it,
Yeah, so like we mentioned at the end of the collection, they almost kill the collector, but then he gets away, and then we cut to a scene at the end where Arkin has found the collector's home, and he points a gun to his head and then shoves him into a box like the collector has done to him and some other victims. So that brings us to this third film, which is titled The Collected, but I've seen it advertised like on posters. They stylize it where like the 3 is the first D, but if you're watching it in 3D, like the 3 is like right before the D at the end, so it's really weird. But yeah, for us in this universe, it was shot in autumn 2019 and came out in 2020, so almost 3 years ago, like the podcast. Um yeah, and I actually, my other self from that other universe sent me info of like how production stopped for this movie in that other universe. I'm just gonna read like these quotes that I have, and I'll link them in the show notes. So Marcus Dunstan, one of the writers, said, "We shot for 8 days and then it was shut down. I invested in this thing. I'd like to know what's happening. We stopped hearing from anybody with the production. I know most of the props I brought there have been stolen. I would think that anybody else who invested in this movie that thinks that it's happening, wouldn't they like to know what's happening? All calls and emails have gone unanswered. When you can't get anyone on the phone and you don't hear anything, at this point, I'm really pissed off." I think it's funny how this article puts an asterisk where the I in pissed as if it's like a curse word. And then Patrick Melton, the other writer, said, "We actually stopped shooting in 2019. That was 2 years ago. That's when this article came out, 2021. And we only shot 8 days, so very, very little shot. Anything that's been released has been from that time period, and there are no plans to start shooting it. We haven't talked to anyone who was in the production. We'd love to finish it, but I don't know. We're not the producer, so we don't know." Yeah, that thing about stealing props is weird to me. It sounds like maybe there's like some sort of collector, props collector type person. Like, sounds really sketchy. But yeah, it sounds like a mess over in that other universe where they didn't get this third film, which we're about to talk about.
Well, I mean, they haven't really made much money with them either. Like, it's not like they're printing money with these movies. Like, I don't even think they made a profit in the last one.
Right, they didn't collect enough money. But yeah, for whatever reason, like that's probably why it took years for the third one to develop, and then they're like, "Oh, we have a really cool idea that will for sure bring people in," and so hence why they try this idea in our universe and also do the 3D gimmick, um, which is weird to me because like in 2020, like 3D is not that big of a trend anymore, and yeah, it's like they feel the need to do it because they could put it in the title if they want to.
I mean, we all remember how Jaws 3D went.
Yeah, with the CGI Jaws flying at the screen at the end.
Perfection.
Jaws 19 Shark looked better than that.
I mean, that is throwing shade at probably Michael Caine's worst performance.
Was Michael Caine in 3D or in Jaws the Revenge?
Don't know now.
I think it was the Revenge. He has that quote about how like the movie was terrible, but it helped him pay for a house or something. So I remember Dylan,
Oh
who
yeah, it was a revenge. Yeah.
I remember Dylan, who's been on the podcast before on a few different episodes. He mentioned that quote and said he loves that quote, but one time he misattributed it to Anthony Hopkins, so that was pretty funny.
Well, I heard the fourth movie retcons the 3D movie anyway.
Yeah, kind of like I feel like the third and fourth ones could still fit. It's weird because the brothers have different jobs in the movies, so it kind of feels like it's more like they don't mention 3D so much as they say that it's impossible that it happened. But yeah, like the Jaws movies are weird.
I still haven't seen any.
Oh, really? I'm genuinely
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, I haven't seen any Jaws movies yet.
Yeah, I
I do
remember.
intend.
Yeah, I remember thinking the first one was kind of overrated, but I wonder if I'd like it more now. Who knows?
I mean, it's supposed to be good, and like the practical effect looks decent.
I mean, you'll probably enjoy the first one at least more than Sharknado, right?
I mean, that's kind of a given. For what we enjoy, Birdemic more than the birds.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that last time. Remember last time on Final Destination 1998 episode when you mentioned Birdemic and how you might like it more than the birds?
Oh my god, it was the last episode as well.
Yeah.
Sorry for repeating myself, damn it.
No, it's the third anniversary episode. We have to do it.
Okay. I have to repeat a line from every episode I've been in. Oh my god, James, stop talking.
Yeah.
Go back to the first episode.
Hey, remember Ted? His
Yeah.
name is in the title of this movie, The Collected.
Oh my god, it is as well, yeah.
Yeah, The
It's full
Collected. Yeah, full circle.
He was on the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent one, which was absolutely insane.
Oh yeah, like there was that mech suit. Yeah, that one was more fun than the version they put out in that other universe, in my opinion.
I mean, it wasn't too bad because you had like two fantastic actors in it, but the story wasn't that great.
Right. Like after The Collector got put in that box, like what do you think of the opening of this movie, The Collected?
Well, you see Arkin like setting up traps in his house,
Yeah.
so it's like going backwards.
Yeah, and you get like his daughter and his wife being like, "What are you doing?" And he's like trying to like come up with like some cover story, being like, this is for science."
You see him go to all like the hardware stores trying to explain to people why he's buying this stuff.
Yeah, like the clerks at these hardware stores are like feeling that he's kind of sus, just buying all this stuff.
But no one will stop him. They just let him do what he wants.
Yeah, like they just want to make a profit. I think that's what one of the messages that this movie is trying to say is that people who own stores just want to collect your money, you know?
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
It's a very deep message.
I like felt it right here in my spleen.
Yeah, my ass clenched when they were collecting.
But yeah, like he's getting chains. He even gets like a chainsaw from somewhere, and a bunch of other like tools and materials and whatnot. He puts like this circus tent looking thing over his house so that people think that it's getting fumigated, which
Kind of what he saw when he was scouting out the first house that he was going to. So it was like, oh, it's definitely gonna work then. It will work now. And then like he had like some people like walking by and go like, "Oh, I don't like spiders." And they like they run away and stuff.
yeah, and it's very fitting because the collector himself was revealed to be an exterminator, but he's also, like we said, he sees himself as a spider, so it's like, Arkin has this line about how like the collector is a bug that I will want to crush here and exterminate, and some corny, cheesy line like that. And yeah, so he puts a box in the middle of the house, and basically, uh, there's like a mechanism on the lock, and it has a timer on it. So like once it unlocks, the collector is able to get out of the box, and then that's when he starts having to try and survive what Arkin has in store for him.
What's in the box? Yeah, it's kind of weird when he like stumbles out because you see him without his mask for the first time. What did you think of his face?
Yeah, because in the previous films, they didn't fully show his face. They'd only show like the side of it or a portion of it or whatever. But yeah, like they show his face, and it's kind of weird that instead of using like an actor who played him in the other movies, they got an actor who's like super well known, and that actor is Chris Evans. Like, I don't get why they got him to play the collector here. It's like, do they want us to root for him now? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, they made me oof so bad. I was like, oh my god, another MCU actor.
Well,
Oh
hey,
god.
at least they didn't go Chris Pratt.
I mean, they could have like have the collector have a twin brother who's Chris Pratt. He comes in to save him. Not my brother.
Right. But I guess they can't afford two MCU actors in this.
Yeah, just the one, and they had to choose that one.
Yeah, I heard they were trying to get Chris Pine, but he declined. So
Yeah, they were pining for the
Chris.
pine.
Yeah. But yeah, such an odd choice to get a really well liked actor to play this character who's done terrible, torturous things, and now he has to like try surviving these traps.
It's funny because he's so buff, and you like see him stumble and fall everywhere. Like he tries to, because he sees a trap like bright as daylight. Like he couldn't miss this trap, but like he like tries to like jump over the wire, but like he trips and like face plants on it.
Yeah. And then he gets up and he's like trying to go through this hallway, but there are like hooks protruding out of the walls, and they tear off his shirt, so it's like, oh, they're obviously making it so that people can see more Chris Evans. Like, it just had me face palming, like SMH my head.
And then there was another bit further down that corridor where when he opened the door to the next area, there was a water bucket just lying on top of the door. So it fell on him and it got him all wet.
Yeah. And like at first you think that this is just gratuitous, and it kind of is, but they
So
make
violent.
they make a purpose for it by showing these like wires that start like swinging down, and there's like electricity, very like sparks on them, and it's like they're supposed to hit him, and he's like just narrowly avoids them.
Yeah, it does like a the Matrix as he dodges them all.
Yeah. They even try it in slow motion, like in the Matrix.
Like he slips at the end.
Yeah. We should mention that he notices a camera, and so yeah, there are cameras in the house, and basically Arkin and Elena are watching from like a secure room, just eating popcorn while they see him try to go through all these things.
There was a trap where he really needed a toilet because of he just heard like this running water. So it was like, oh my god, I need to pee, I need to pee. And then he went to the bathroom and he opened up the cabinet, but in the cabinet was drugs, but he didn't know they were drugs. He thought they were sweets. He was like, oh my god, sweeties, yay! I love these vitamin sweeties. And then he starts eating them, but then like,
Yeah.
obviously it turns out they're drugs, and then like it turns into like one of those like LSD trips, and he's just like seeing bright lights everywhere and like sunshine and daisies.
Yeah, I was surprised that Chris Evans was doing a British accent in this movie. It's like, wait, what? Like, is he actually British, or does the collector just try to do a British accent despite not being British?
It's like Daniel Craig in Knives Out.
Oh yeah, I have a friend. My friend Liana is like, was on the Marvels episode. She was not convinced by Daniel Craig's accent, which honestly I never noticed, but I'm not super familiar with that part of the country, so I wouldn't know if he's like doing it wrong or whatever.
It wasn't too bad, but
Right.
like he clearly forgot how to do it in the second movie because he changed his accent.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, because I remember him saying that like he forgot how to do it, so he'd like relearn or something.
Oh, that's kind of funny. Yeah, I guess I didn't notice because of the gap between seeing the movies, whereas I think you watched them back to back, right?
Yeah, because I hadn't seen it before.
Right. We should also like reiterate that all of these things that happen in the movie are like so obviously made for 3D. So like, you know, when you see the hooks, it's like they're coming out of the screen toward you, and like the wires and stuff flying at you. And when Chris Evans like face plants onto the floor, they make it so that like the camera angle is from the floor, and it's like his face is coming out of the screen. It's really weird.
You when I was in a cinema, so many girls cheered. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, really?
Yeah, I mean, there are also some guys who cheered like when I saw like, yeah, everyone just loves Chris Evans. But yeah, they're like, there's like this drug-induced trip, and all these like psychedelic visuals are also like flying out of the screen, and it kind of gave me a headache, to be honest, like with all the swirls and the colors and stuff. Like he's basically like tripping balls, and it's making it tougher for him to like not trip on stuff. Like he trips on a literal metal ball, and it flies at the screen, but in the movie it like hits something that then knocks down a chandelier that then like falls on him.
He goes, "Owie!"
Yeah.
But then he just like branches it off and just keeps on walking. And I'm just like, the hell is he? Does he just not die in this movie? He
Yeah.
like he finds some stairs, and he tries to walk down the stairs, but obviously he's drugged out of his mind, and like he just collapses and just like goes head first down the stairs.
Yeah, and these stairs also have like slinky like metal slinky coils on them, so he kind of gets cut by those as he falls down, and yeah, those fly out at the screen as well. They're basically just like throwing everything at us with this 3D gimmick.
Yeah, there's definitely far too much 3D in this 3D movie.
Yeah. So he lands at the bottom of the stairs and gets knocked out for a bit. And then we cut back to Arkin and Elena like watching from their secure location, and they're like, all right, it's time for a bathroom break. So this was the moment where basically for like 5 minutes straight we see footage of the collector just lying down knocked out. So if you're watching this in the theater, it's like, okay, like even you, the audience, can get a bathroom break at this point.
Yeah, then he just pisses like, because like it was like a 3D piss stream. It was so awkward.
Yeah, it was gross.
But then there's a last track over it as well as he was doing it.
Oh yeah. Remember all the laugh track stuff in the first anniversary episode?
I think so.
Yeah, maybe I should throw a bit of that in this episode.
Yeah, you gotta like chuck him in.
So, when he finally wakes up, he's trying to collect himself, haha, and remembers like where he is and that he's trying to survive. And he notices a ceiling fan, but it looks like it's made of helicopter blades. And he trips over a wire, and it's like that starts like falling down toward him, and he just tries rolling out of the way, but it still like cuts off one of his fingers in the process.
Yeah, his like his middle finger comes off, and he's like, "Oh no, I can't swear anymore." But then
Yeah.
he realizes he has another hand.
And
like,
the middle,
okay.
the severed middle finger flies out of the screen to the audience.
Oh yeah, and then people try to catch it.
Yeah. You see it up close, and you see that he doesn't clean his nails very well. Like it's got all that dirt underneath.
And there's like a little piece of paper inside that says "No you."
Yeah.
Oh, damn, you got me.
Yeah. So he gets up, and then he trips over another wire, and that releases a katana that then severs off one of his feet, and then that flies out of the screen.
Yeah, he really lost his footing there.
Yeah. So he stumbles over to the kitchen and tries to like get his stump on the stove so that he can light it and like cauterize the wound. But when he turns up the stove, like it turns out that that in itself is rigged with a trap that then sets like sets him on fire, and so now it's like he's trying to roll around and get the fire off.
But like the fire is like super 3D, and like the cinema I went to, like had like these flames in the cinemas room, and got really hot for a second. I was like, "Whoa, that's new." Did you get it at your cinema?
Oh no, I didn't, but we're not as fancy as the ones over in England, so you know.
Yeah, we're prepared to die by fire. It's very safe.
Yeah, I imagine it's like those, you know, there are like those restaurants where if you want to sit outside, there's like these tall things that have fire in them, and they're like heaters type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
wasn't like enclosed. It was just like lighting the area on fire for like a moment. Like, you know, those flamethrower thingies.
oh dang, that's wild.
Yeah, it was wildfire, dude. It was
Yeah.
lit.
And meanwhile, as this is happening, Arkin and Elena like each take out a cigar and just get a lighter and light up their cigars. They're just like chilling and enjoying seeing the collector get a taste of his own medicine.
Yeah, they have like no lines in this movie. Like, why even get them back?
Yeah, it's like basically you just have earlier on when he's like coming up with excuses, but here like as we're watching, like they just don't say anything. They're basically just watching. I think that was probably a condition for them coming back, is that they only want to come back if they wouldn't have to do too much.
Yeah, like, I don't want to have any lines. Do you not have me learn anything? Like a Marlon Brando. I'll not learn any lines on set. You must give me the script as I come on set.
Yeah. Remember CGI Marlon Brando in Final Destination 1998?
Yep. See, you bring it all back.
Yeah. Speaking of the Matrix earlier, remember Mafortrix, that episode I did with Dylan and Keon?
I don't think so. Maybe I've seen it. I can't really remember. It was quite a while ago, that one.
Yeah, that one was wild.
What was the best bit of that one?
Either the bit with the floppy disk or the bit with the Trix cereal. So
Oh.
yeah, it was a weird film. There's like the video store and everything, but yeah.
Gotta go watch that episode now. Oh, not now. Wait until you finish watching this one.
No, yeah, just pause this recording and then come back and let me know what you think. All right, so now that you've listened, what do you think of the episode, Greg? Just in a few words.
Oh, it's so good. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Really got me thinking.
Yeah, of course. So Chris Evans doesn't look very Chris Evans anymore.
Crisp Evans, you might say.
He looks very Human Torch here. So, you know, just bring it all back to his role in those Fantastic Four movies. But now, once the flames have died down, he's looking very burned to a crisp. He's still alive, but it's like he's basically almost looks like Freddy Krueger. And at this point, you can tell that it's not Chris Evans wearing the makeup, it's just some stunt person. Was that obvious to you when you saw it?
Oh yeah, it was like they got like some random person off the street to play him for that scene.
Yeah,
It's not like anything like him.
yeah, and you can tell that they got Chris Evans to overdub his lines over that
Yeah,
person.
those lip sync did not link up.
yeah, it did not match most of the time from this point onward. It kind of reminded me of the movie Dark Man, where you have Liam Neeson as the main character, but then after he gets burned and disfigured, like sometimes Bruce Campbell is reading some of the lines, and it's like, what was the point of that? It's super weird.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
it's a Sam Raimi movie, so that explains the Bruce
Uh,
Campbell connection.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, speaking of Bruce Campbell, there's a chainsaw in this next room that the collector goes to. So what'd you think of this particular moment?
Yeah, I wondered why he thought that'd be a good idea. Like he went and picked up the chainsaw, but like it was attached to like all these wires. So as he picked it up, all these knives came shooting out of the walls and like penetrated him everywhere. And then he just like blah, 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 blah. Not
Yeah, that this truly was a Knives Out mystery.
well, you can see the knives came out of the walls.
Yeah.
And then he starts doing like some helicopter movement. Like he just starts swinging his arms around, trying to like gauge what's happening. And then like as he's regaining his mind, these Wellington boots on like a stick just like kick him in the balls. And I was like, amazing. Amazing, just what I needed.
Yeah, he falls to the floor and he's, you know, because his lips are burned, he can't say all the syllables that he'd be able to say when putting his lips together. So you hear him say, I should have been a botanist. So he's basically saying I should have been a botanist. And he has like
Yeah.
a little flashback to like looking at plants and being fascinated by them. But then at some point, he got more interested in looking at the insects on them and seeing a spider devour them. And these are like CGI insects. They looked really ugly and also flew out at the audience. And so basically throwing in a little bit more of his origin, I guess.
Yeah, because he was let's say he was an entomologist. He likes insects and stuff.
They really connect the dots, you know, with that and the exterminator thing. And I kind of don't know if we needed to know, but it was mildly interesting, I guess.
Yeah, because they when like they show like flashbacks like in random pieces of the film, we can see him as a child like having like those glass boxes of insects that he's like collecting, and then his like mum comes in. It's like, stop collecting. Collecting's for babies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did you grow up?
Yeah, every kid goes through a collecting phase, even if it's just, in some cases, it's just action figures or comic books. But here, like, you know, as an adult, he's collecting people and putting them in these deadly situations.
Yeah, serves his mum right for not letting him use his insects.
Yeah. Not a healthy hobby that he's having.
No, should let him run free. But it was weird that his mum was like his first part of his collection. Because you see that in, I think it was a bit near the end, where you see how he kills his mother.
Yeah, like it's revealed that like in his past, like he was able to make it look like his mom went missing, but in actuality he took her to this abandoned house and set some traps for her. And it was pretty basic, like he put some mouse traps and bear traps and some other things. But yeah, basically showing that his mother was his first victim, which honestly felt to me like a cliche. Like, I kind of feel like learning that much more about him made him less interesting to me, but I don't know. How'd you feel about it?
You do really need to know that information because it's like, don't try humanize your villains. Even though this whole movie he's been a complete wacko.
Yeah. We're looking at you, Don't Breathe 2. How dare you try to humanize the Don't Breathe guy? I forgot what his name is, the character, but
Yeah, the blind dude.
yeah. Stephen Lang's character.
Yeah, the guy from Avatar.
Yeah.
Still-
It's still like boggles my mind that he's the same guy who played the reporter in Manhunter, who looks so easy to throw around. But like in later stuff he's like buff and just able to like
Yeah.
hold his own.
I think Avatar got him to get buff, or maybe he just decided to get buff anyway.
Yeah.
Because how long was there difference between those movies? For
Well,
quite some time.
yeah, Avatar was 2009 and Don't Breathe was like mid 2010s, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was also in that time travel to the dinosaur period TV show Terra Nova in between, and he was like buff in that too.
I was in Conan the Barbarian, the one with Aquaman.
Oh, Jason Momoa.
Yeah, that wasn't actually that bad. I found that one quite interesting.
Eh,
Because Arnold can't act. It's kind of funny.
yeah, I mean, I'm not really into any of the Conan the Barbarian things. I'm more of a Conan O'Brien person. Yeah, he's a talk show host over here in the States.
I heard that what's his face is leaving. The Late Late Show.
Oh, James Corden.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do without him in your life?
I mean, I stopped watching the Late Late Show when Craig Ferguson left. Like, Craig Ferguson was the pinnacle of talk show hosts. He was just so random, and you know, when you think about it, a podcast is kind of like a talk show. That's kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah, it depends how many people you get on and stuff. But
Right.
like you should watch Graham Norton. He's the English one, and it's amazing the stuff he can get people to talk about.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Graham Norton. May have seen
Like
clips
everyone's
here
just
and
so
there.
comfortable.
Wild. But yeah, I guess the studio audience would be a difference. But you know, that's why I'm throwing like a laugh track in this here and there.
Would you want a studio audience for Delayed Replay go on a studio tour?
No, that feels like too much work.
Yeah, there's no power of editing.
I mean, if I got a lot of if someone for whatever reason paid me a lot of money to do that, then I'd consider it. Because
Yes,
you know,
any viewers, if you have money, let us know.
right? Yeah, collecting donations. But
Yeah, we'll give a savings pot for the world tour.
yeah. But anyway, we cut back to the present with the collector still trying to get out of this damn house. He turns on the TV and there's like some opera singing on some artsy TV channel. And it like is so loud that it like hurts his ears. But I guess the house on the outside is surrounded by like soundproof material so people can't hear his screams. And he's just like suffering through it all. And meanwhile, Arkin and Elena are just eating some like chocolate bars and hot dogs while watching him suffer.
I would like to know how much food they ate during filming, because I think that's all they were doing.
Yeah, they they got catering to just give them what they want.
They just left the camera rolling when they were eating food. Like, there was no script. They were just like, yeah, just sit and eat and we'll get some footage.
There's like a little Easter egg where like the collector is thinking back to, because sometimes there are flashbacks and he's thinking back to when he set up all these other different traps in the other movies, and basically making it look like the Saw movies where they show how the things happened. And there's like a moment where he like reads an old news article about the like jigsaw traps, so it's like, I guess in universe he kind of inspired him. So there you go.
It's kind of weird that they chose to bring them into the same universe.
And like the collector thinks about how like he's untethered compared to Jigsaw. Like Jigsaw might have a little bit of empathy, like genuinely wanting people to survive, but the collector is like, no, everything is mine. But here in the present, as he's suffering through everything he's been put through, he's kind of regretting everything.
Yeah, he's been put through some interesting traps, this movie. I gotta say that.
Yeah.
Definitely not your average torture devices.
Yeah. So what do you think of the way that they end this movie? Like, how do you feel about it?
It's like a ending for part one, because like he gets closer and closer to where Arkin and Elena are hiding, but we never quite get there. It's like he's like stumbling through corridors and everything. He keeps on setting off more traps and matrixing his way through them. And once he gets to the door, fade to black. Cool.
Yeah, it was quite a twist that their secure location that they were watching from was within that actual house.
Because it didn't make it seem like it was. Like, there was nothing. It looked very modern compared to the house. So you wouldn't have thought it was. But it's not like we had any, what do you call them? Like the outside shots of the area anyway.
Right, yeah. It was an odd choice, definitely. Like, I don't know, like it kind of felt to me that they couldn't afford another location when they were filming this, so they're like, oh, let's just have their room be in the same house type thing, just use that room.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think the ending was anticlimactic, and I was like, oh, damn it, like they don't resolve this thing. Like, not in this one, but
Yeah, once likely to get a fourth one, am I right?
yeah, the collective.
Oh no. Oh, well, that actually works. Yeah, the IV in the collective could be the 4.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, we'll talk about that at some point, I'm sure.
Yes, stay tuned for the collective.
Yeah.
Oh god, I don't know how you didn't.
Oh god.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was so obvious in the marketing. How did I not see it?
Yeah, did you not see that the collective returns in the collective when the I and
Yeah.
the V when joined together?
But yeah, I guess I'll do it for this recap so we could go to final thoughts and scores, measurement. So what are your final thoughts and score out of 10 unit of measurement for The Collected?
It was definitely a further step back from the second film compared to the first film, especially having one of the Chris's be in the movie and then just like halfway through get some random person having a dubbed voice. That was a really weird choice. And it was like really weirdly comedic. Like, it's not supposed to do that, I don't think.
Yeah, it was like
That's-
unintentionally funny.
Kind of was unintentional. They were like, oh, let's make a funny movie. Let's have our version of Deadpool or something. Even though it doesn't really make any jokes. And there wasn't really much gore either, really. I was hoping for some more, because obviously the second film just like ramped it up even more, but there wasn't too much in here. All I remember was like the knives and the falling downstairs and stuff. There wasn't any. I guess you could say when you get his foot chopped off or your fingers come flying towards the screen, but not too much. Just a meh film with one of the most boring MCU actors they could have chosen.
Damn, that's a hot take.
I'd give The Collected a 5 out of 10.
What's your unit of measurement?
Getting there. My God, it's the same thing happened last time. Cannot come up with a damn measurement.
Yeah, so we paused the
5 out
podcast
of
for
10
like,
smelly sausages.
oh yeah, because those were on the stove where he burned himself.
Yeah, you could see him go, poo-wee.
Yeah. Yeah, we paused the podcast for 5 minutes so that Craig could come up with a unit of measurement.
Yet again.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think I'm also gonna give it that score. Like, for me, it's 5 out of 10. Chris's.
Even 10 Chris's out there.
We could probably name like 10 if we really tried. Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, Chris Pine, Chris Rock, Chris Tucker. Dang, this is actually kind of tough. I'll just insert 4 more in the edit.
Chris Klein, Chris O'Donnell, Chris Messina, and Chris Parnell.
But yeah, like this definitely felt very, like, I don't know, it felt like this one felt like it was aimed more toward just the people who enjoy seeing the gruesome stuff and don't really care about emotion and story and character arcs. Like, I feel like in the first 2 movies, you at least had protagonists you could root for. Like, I think the first one I'd give an 8 out of 10. You know, it's creative in my opinion. It's not perfect. I don't like what they do with like the cat and the dog in that one. The second one, I guess I'd give like a 7, maybe. Widening the scale kind of made it lose a bit of something. But this third one, yeah, definitely 5 out of 10. But I mean, it did well enough to guarantee this fourth one we'll talk about in the future. But yeah, it's a mess. like I feel like the end of the second one, I guess it's like you're curious where it could go from there, but it's also like he could just like leave that as like the happy ending and just be done with it type thing. I guess that's it for now. Thanks for joining me again, Greg. So I'll put the Society Discord server link and in the show notes as usual and whatnot.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So any final words for this anniversary episode before we sign off?
Here's to another 10 more episodes with me in it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, I'm sure there are some topics here and there that I can bring you back for. But yeah, that'll do it.
The audience are just yammering for more.
Yeah, just the clapping that I'm inserting in the edit. All right, so that'll do it, and the show will be back in 2 weeks.
The next episode will actually be about the sequel to the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Film from a universe where that actually got a sequel. So, a way to commemorate that 1993 film's 30th anniversary. And of course, you can email Delayed Replay via delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on collecting. What do you collect? Check the show notes for all the plugs. At Steven Shinder, Instagram and Twitter, Steven Shinder Storytelling on Facebook, Rotten Tormato on Letterboxd. I have a Goodreads account as well, and my book Trespassing Through Visages probably coming out this summer. StevenShinder.com for info on that, and my previous book Lemons on My Grain. Check out Yesshift, which I do with my dad. We're planning our episode 100. And check out Drum Talk TV. Going to the 10th anniversary event in Las Vegas next month. So very interesting stuff all around. And if I forgot anything, I'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, thanks for keeping up, I guess.
And without further delay, have a good day.